Okay, today I'm going to be talking about function overloading. And okay, let's begin by just looking at this program we have here and notice the problem with it. Okay, let's go through this line by line. In our function called main, we have two different type of variables. An integer that is 54 and the float, which basically means number with decimal places, that is 32.32424. And prior to making this main function, we have made a print number function that prints out that is specified to the integer type variable. So whenever it sees an integer, it will be printing out this text first. I'm printing integer x end line, so it will be printing that integer out. And since we called this function in our main twice and had it work on both a and b, it will be printing these two numbers out exactly as it is, right? And that's what you think. But let's run this first. It's a bit glitchy. Okay, now let's compare the numbers. So for integer a, which is 54, it printed out the number exactly as it is, just fine. But realize what happened to float b. It's meant to be 32.324, but it only printed out 32. Now this is because the function we made here is only specified to integer variables. So when it sees a float, it's not gonna know what to do. It's going to turn this float into an integer by rounding it to the nearest whole number. So 32.3 is nearer to 32. That's why it shows 32 on the screen. But what if you want to print the numbers exactly as they are? And this is what you do with function overloading. Now, it's really basic stuff. You make another function that's basically exactly the same, but now you change the variable type. From integer x, you want it to be float x. And we can, for example, make this print out. Just do the same thing, print out. I am printing a float x and the line. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind is print number. The two print number function we have here is not a different function. They are basically the same, and this is called function overriding, I think. Yeah, and so in main, when the program runs this line, it's going to look at 54 and compare it to the function. It's going to look at this function and go, is 54 integer or float? If it's an integer, it's going to use this function up here. If it's a float, it's going to use this function down here. And that's what the tutorial taught me. But then I thought, what if you could just get rid of the integer function? Wouldn't that do the same thing as having two overwritten repetitive functions here? So I did that. And when I run this program, it's going to print out the numbers exactly as it is, just fine. So when it's 54, it's not going to print out 54.0, it's going to print out 54 exactly. But this also works for 32.324 to 32424. So just an interesting finding. This may work differently somewhere else. Say you don't want to print a number. Yeah, it's going to work differently. Haven't got up to that part yet, but this is just an interesting finding that I came up with during the learning. And that's the log for today. Thank you, and we'll be back tomorrow.